with some of you already have had this conversation for a few minutes, and we also have guests from the Latvian Homeschool and Family Association, if I said it correctly, and also Velta Žuka will give a little of, after the lecture, a bit of something, information about how it is in Latvia and some of the details, and then we can also have a discussion between ourselves on that. Yeah, so I guess I'll be short on my side and then give the floor to you, back to you actually. All right.
Okay, so thank you very much. Once again, thank you for inviting me. I'm very happy to be here, first time in Riga, in Latvia, and I'm very honored to be invited to this talk here in the library. I have prepared a topic which I didn't expect would be very popular here, which is homeschooling, so I'm pleasantly surprised. But before I actually go into this, as Carlos said, I'm anthropologist. I'm the head of social anthropology in Brno, which is an Erasmus partner to Riga University, and that is why I'm here. And anthropology likes to work with stories. So I will also start with a short story and continue slowly and go into my research topic here. So anthropology is something that I always wanted to do. When I was studying, I thought, well, this is the best thing, because I was an 18-year-old girl who didn't really, well, I had a clear idea. I wanted to go to save the world, to work in development. So I decided that anthropology with development studies will be the best thing that I want to do. I was a bit of a tomboy, so I liked adventure, and I liked to go to other countries except the Czech Republic. And so anthropology really was my dream subject and the dream catcher. And I decided that I will really follow my dreams, because that was the time of the 90s. Communist regime collapsed in the Czech Republic and anything was possible for the 18-year-old. So I decided that I will try and do whatever I wanted. So during my early work, I did two dream research. First of all, I spent a year in a gypsy village in Slovakia. I was living with the gypsies and working with the gypsies in Slovakia, especially. They are very poor, and they work, and they have no work, many children, so it was an intensive family work, and also quite adventure, so I was satisfied. I was on the right track, and I decided this is really what I want to do. And I went on and continued with my adventurous fieldwork. I went for 7 months to Sri Lanka, and I worked with the burghers, who from my perspective was in a very similar situation to the Roma Gypsy people, because like the Roma Gypsy people, you can recognize in the Czech by the face, they are darker colored. The burghers in Sri Lanka you can also recognize, but the other way around, they are lighter. So on the first sight you can spot the burgher and you can spot the gypsy, and my theory was, well, if this is what is happening, then perhaps race and racism, how is it linked to the color of the skin and to the first impression and recognizing the difference on the streets? So that was my interest for many years, but as my life went on, I became older and older, and I had some children, and I said, okay, career is nice, but I want some family, and perhaps I will have some children, or I want some children. How can I actually combine both, and how can how can I live up to my dreams, and what actually are my dreams? Is it the children, the family, or is it the work, or is it both, or how do I actually do that? So I had children, not one, not two, not three, but four. One set of twins as well. So, well, I consider it a blessing. It's a big family. This is what I wanted. At the same time, it is rather burden when it comes to research, right? Nevertheless, we went together to Sri Lanka. They were there with me, and I was a witch mother, a wicked mother, because I sent them to school there, and they were living they start school at 4 in Sri Lanka, so very early, like in Britain. It's a British system, and yeah, well, I think now after several years they are very thankful for this, but at the time I know that it was not very easy for them, not for me, not for them, but it was a life-changing experience, as I believe anthropology is. But then I realized that anthropology is my dream, not their dream, and that perhaps I should do something about this and try to adjust my topics. And as the children went older and older, I decided that I have to start choosing a kind of action theory and topics which I can do in the Czech Republic and not have to move them around the world, and basically let them live their lives as they choose, as they want to do what they want to do. And so we stayed at home. I started teaching at the university. It's very nice, it's very rewarding. At the same time, my children went to school, the eldest son started school. And it was such a hassle at the time, because I had small twins, a younger son and the elder son going to school. And suddenly everything became organized by the school timetable. When to get up, how to manage to get the youngest child across all the city to the school, when to pick him up. And I had to do that with another 3 children twice a day and go to work and do my work. So I thought, well, after half a year I was so exhausted that I decided that this is not something for me, that actually if I will imagine differently, then I can live my life differently, rather than running between my work, my home, my school, and, well, I know that we have gender equality, but not really in my family. The husband was the breadwinner and I was running the household as well. So you have an extra shift, an extra job, which you have as mothers, and at the same time, all the 4 children, and something that I didn't want to give up. Anthropology fieldwork always tells you, participate, learn the language, and live among the people. So it looked like, well, I am participating in my family. I am speaking the baby children's language. I was doing a lecture this morning when I was saying Malinowski had in mind that if you go into some other country, that you should learn the native language. So if I move to Latvia, I should learn Latvian. But that also extends to the fact that you should learn the language of the community that you are studying. So if you're studying youngsters, you cannot go without understanding their music, their games, their vocabulary which they are using. You have to get closer to them. So I said, okay, I'm learning the language of my children, I'm listening to their music, I'm watching the games they are playing, I'm watching the films that they are watching. So I am basically here in the field. And I had to imagine, according to this, my hero, Antoine de Saint-Exupéry and the Little Prince, that you can see things which are there all the time, but perhaps they are not showing off so bluntly and so openly, but you can see that the first picture is a snake which has eaten an elephant. So the first picture is hidden, but the second, if you look closely, will disclose actually the strange shape at the top. So I said, okay, what can I study if I am in this situation? And I decided that I can study what I actually live. That means the family life, together with homeschooling and schooling and homeschooling, and how these actually connect together. So this is the story behind me, and behind, well, it was much more longer than 2 years of holiday of school, but Jules Verne was one of my favorite books when I was small. So Jules Verne and the 2 years of vacation was something that I always dreamt of as a girl, and I said, well, if that would be possible under the communist regime not to go to school, this is definitely something that I would push my mother to do, but that was not possible. When I had children, by law, by that time, it was not like everybody can do it, hey, 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 but there were spaces in the law which actually allowed me to do it. So I decided that I will give it a try. The first reason was definitely a practical reason for the family. It saved me time. It gave me much more time to be with my children. And it gave me the time to be with my children the way I wanted, not just to be the service person and the taxi driver, but actually to spend the time with the child or with all the children, because they were of different age. There are 7 years difference between my oldest son and my twins. First, I have 2 boys and the twins are girls. So which actually allowed me to do it. So I decided that I will give it a try. The first reason was definitely a practical reason for the family. It saved me time. It gave me much more time to be with my children. And it gave me the time to be with my children the way I wanted, not just to be the service person and the taxi driver, but actually to spend the time with the child or with all the children, because they were of different age. There are 7 years difference between my oldest son and my twins. First, I have 2 boys and the twins are girls. So I have both genders and both different ages. And I decided that this is what actually I want to try, and what I would like my children to try with me. So apart from actually teaching my children, at the time when we started, I was teaching just 2 because the girls were too small. They were not even yet in the kindergarten. The Czech school system starts at the age of 5 when we have a compulsory kindergarten year, and the school system starts from the age of 6. So the first level is from 6 to 11, and the second level is from 11 to 16, and that is compulsory education. So at the age of 16 you can finish, you can go to work, or you can continue on to gymnasium for 4 years and then university, or any kind of middle school or high school that we call it. So I said, okay, let's try it with the 2 sons, and the girls were too small. So at the time when I started, I had 2 pupils and 2 small children at home. And after a few years, I managed to persuade 1 or 2 students whom I was teaching anthropology of education. And together we started a small project. It was not even a postdoc. It was a project which I was telling Carlos was funded, or we have projects which are small, funded by the university.